Hello and welcome to another session of Mindful Data Mine. In today's session, we will learn how we can use SQL in SAS using Proc SQL, and we will also see if we want to join two data sets, how we can join it using SQL and data step merge. So without wasting any further time, let's start with the practicals. So in SAS, if we want to write a query in SQL, we can do it using proc SQL statement. So for example, we'll use proc SQL and in the end we write quit. In case of a data step, we generally write run, but in case of SQL, we need to use quit because mainly the session jumps from data step to SQL session, and to terminate that we use quit instead of run. If we write run here, okay, or if we do not write anything, then in that case the session will be continued to be in SQL or proc SQL state. That's why we use quit in the end. Okay, now if we want to write a select query, so for example select asterisk from SAS help dot cars, we can simply write it like this, and when we'll run it, this will give me result in the results tab. Okay, so this is the data which is present in the SAS help.cars data. Now, in case if we want to create a new data set in SAS using Proc SQL, we can use the same create statement. Okay, I'll use create table followed by table name A as select asterisk from SAS help.cars. In this case, I'll get in the output window we are getting all the records which are part of dataset A. Okay, now I'll talk a little bit about joins, what are different kind of joins, and then we will move forward with how we can join two tables or more than two tables in SAS and using a proc SQL as well as a data step merge. Okay, for this I've taken this image from Google so that it will be easy for you to understand different kind of joins available. So in general we have four joins: inner join, full join, left join and right join. When we use inner join, the data which is common to both the table will only be picked. In case of full join, data from both the tables is picked, and in case of a left join, all the data from the left table is picked and only the data which has rows related to, or we can say all the data will be picked from left join and the common data from right join will be picked, right table will be picked. Similarly, in case of right join, all the data from right table will be picked and common data from left table will be picked. To make it easier for you to understand, let's create a table left and a table right. Okay, I'll bold them, and here I'll have ID and name, and here I'll have ID and salary. So you see ID is common to both the tables. Now here I'll write 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, and here I'll write 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, name will be A, B, D, E, F, and I'll put some random salaries here. Okay, so these are my two tables. Okay, now when we try to use inner join, okay, then in case, as I mentioned, the item which are common to both left and right table will only be captured. So what will happen here is we have 1, 2, 4, 5, 6 available in the right column. So the data would look something like this: 1, 2, and 4, 5, 6, and we'll get a column inner join. Okay, now if we talk about full join, in this case, then in case of full join, as I mentioned, all the data will be picked. So what will happen is we will get the third number row as well. Okay, so here we will get 3, and since 3 doesn't have any corresponding name, so we'll get a salary here. Okay, in case of a left join, so in case of a left join, everything from left will be picked. That means all this data will be picked. So we have 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, A, B, D, E, F, and only the corresponding table from right will be picked. So that means these two items and these three items will be picked. And this is what we get in left join. Similarly, in case of a right join, we will get data something like this. So this is our right join data. Okay, now what we'll do is we'll try to replicate the same tables in SAS and see if whatever the output we have mentioned, we are getting the same output for all the 4 joins. Okay, so for that, I'll create a left table and a right table in SAS using data step. So data left, then input. I have ID and name. Then we need to mention cards, and here I need to pass data from left table. Okay. Similarly, I have another data set, right, in which we have ID and salary. They both are of numeric type, and this is the data. Now what I'll do is first I'll run this to generate the two data sets, and then we will start with the joins. In the right table we have all the 6 rows, and in the left table we have the 5 records. Okay, now in SAS, if we want to join two tables, for example left and right in this case, we can either do it using a data step and merge statement, or using Proc SQL. Okay, now there are three main conditions that needs to be fulfilled in case if we are using a data step. merge, first there should be a common key with same name and data type. Okay. Second is data should be sorted by common key. Okay. So these are the two major requirement. The third one is I've covered here only, that the data type should be same. That means if ID is of character type, then it should be character type in both. If it is numeric, then it should be numeric in both. Okay. But in case if we talk about Proc SQL, then these condition doesn't apply. That means we need to have a common key, but the common key name may be different. Maybe in table left it's known as ID table left, in right it is called as ID table right. We can join them, and it need not to be sorted in any fashion or any way. Okay, now to start with, since the data is already sorted, what I'll do is I'll write the data step and corresponding proc SQL query so that we can compare that okay, these two items are correct and they are exactly matching. So I'll start with the inner join. Okay, and to create a data step, I'll use d underscore inner for data step query. Here we need to use merge. So earlier we are using set statement, now we are using merge. Merge. Then we need to use the table name or the data set name from where we need to pick the data. Okay, and here we will use in equals to option. So in equals to option, when we use this, then we explicitly ask SAS to create a boolean variable for us at the backend, in which if we have a data from left table, then put 1 against all those records, and in case if it is coming from right table, then put a 1 in place of that record, and if it doesn't exist, then put a 0. So what I'll do is I'll save the values and I'll show you what I'm trying to explain here. Okay, so that we get a better clarity. After this, we need to mention the key by which it is sorted. So we are using ID here in this case. Okay, now first I'll use A equals to X and B equals to Y. I'm doing this just to show you how we are creating or how SAS creates this Boolean variables at the backend. Then we'll start with the inner join process. Okay, now if you see, we have used A equals to X and we are getting A, B, D, E, F in the left table. That's why we are getting 1, 1, 1, 1, 1 for these records, and for third ID it is showing as 0. But in case of salary, we have salary for all the 6 IDs. That's why we are getting 1 for each record. Okay, now moving back. So if you see these records one more time, now if I say, okay, we need data where X equals to 1. So we'll get this record, this record, this record, this record, and this record. Okay, and when we say I need data where Y is equals to 1, then we'll get all the 6 record. And when I'll say I need the records where I have both X and Y as 1, we'll get these records. So when I'll say both X and Y should be 1, that means we are talking about inner join. That means if the record exists in both the tables, then only show the data. When I say only X, that means I'm talking about left table. Okay, see here it's 0, so this record will not be picked. And in the left join, we have only these 5 items, so only the data corresponding to these will be picked from the right table. And when I say pick only from Y, that means it will pick all the 6 record and corresponding values from left table. Okay, now let's see it in the action. So first one is the inner join, so I'll use if X and Y. I can write it as X equals to 1 and Y equals to 1 as well. They both means the same thing. Okay, and the corresponding SQL query would be like this. Select, or I'll create a table, maybe create table S for SQL inner as select asterisk from left as A. I'm giving an alias here. Inner join right as B on A.id equals to B.id. So this is the corresponding SQL query to write a inner join. I'll run both of these queries to check the result. They should be same, and this should be matching with the data which we have here. Okay, so in case of inner join, we are expecting 1, 2, 4, 5 and 6 ID. So we are getting 1, 2, 4, 5 and 6 in the data step, and similarly we are getting the same item in the Proc SQL, that is the proc step. Now similar to this, in case if we want to have a full join, I've just copied the same code and I'll update it to D full and S full. Here instead of inner join, I need to use full join. Okay, and here I need not to pass anything. Now when I'll run both of these data sets, okay, because we haven't asked SAS to explicitly check for X and Y, that's why it will give the entire data which is present in both the tables. And similarly here we have used full join. Let's run this and check the results. So the expectation was to get all the 6 records for ID 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. We are getting the same records here, and in case of proc step we are getting 1, 2 dot 4, 5, 6. Now why we are getting a dot here but we are getting a corresponding value? The reason for this is when we use proc SQL or SQL, it generally keeps ID from the first or the left table. So if you see the left table, we do not have 3, but since we have a corresponding record, so it has put the record, but it took data from the left table. That's why we are getting dot here. Now in case if we want to get 3 also here, then instead of using asterisk, what we need to do is we'll need to use a function known as coalesce instead of writing it like this. So we'll use coalesce, and here we will pass a.id comma b.id as id comma name comma salary. Okay, and I'll write it as s underscore full 1. Now when I'll run this, I should be able to see 1, 2, 3 as well. Earlier we are getting a dot here. Okay, now similar to full join, if I talk about left join, so for left join we want to pick everything from the left table and only the matching values from the right table. So for this, what we'll do is I'll simply write if x. When we say if x, so SAS will only take the values where we are getting x equals to 1. Okay, and here we will update it to left join. I'll also write it left, similar to this. Here also I'll update left. Now if you see, we are only getting the records which are present in the left table, that is the records corresponding to 1, 2, 4, 5, 6. This is the expectation, and this is what we are getting here as well in the D left, and similar thing in the S underscore left. And similarly, if I talk about right join, and if for data step I can use if y, and in case of Proc SQL I just need to use the right join here, and I'll update this to right so that we can get a new data set named as t underscore right. Similarly, I'll use s underscore left here. Now when we run this, I should get all the 6 record corresponding to both the tables, and the name will be empty. So this is what is expected, and we are getting the same result. Again, here we are getting dot for the ID. To correct this, we need to use coalesce function. Okay, so what we have to do is simply we have to, what we can do, just copy paste the same code. Okay, now when I'll run this, I should be able to get ID as well. So in this way we can use Proc SQL and merge and join in SAS. So this concept is important from interview perspective. Kindly let me know in comment section if you have any queries or doubt related to this particular session. I'll see you in the next session. Thank you.